Gears of War E-Day is almost here. It's just a little bit over a month until it releases. And the player base is currently very split. On one hand, you have the players that are exciting for it because let's be real, a lot of the gameplay that we have seen so far does look pretty good. It looks like exactly what you would want from a Gears game. But on the other hand, you also have people, including myself, who are a lot worried about what's gonna happen because we saw the release trailer and the release trailer was very, very political and it did not even try to hide it. There is potentially a huge amount of wokeness in Gears of War E-Day and that could technically ruin everything. And I know some people think that that's not necessarily a problem, but most gamers will disagree with that point. We already saw what happened with Halo campaign Evolved, how it dramatically failed. So at this point, I wonder if Gears of War E-Day could not be a similar type of scenario. Will it be that bad? Honestly, I kind of doubt it because Halo has been destroyed for countless years, honestly, at this point. Gears of War, only with the most recent iteration of the game, has gotten a little bit of that negative publicity and press, but we're gonna see more because a couple of people have already gotten to play the game. I'm sure they're not allowed to show actual gameplay, but we can hear what they have to say and then figure it out if it's good or not.
If Gears of War E-Day is an indication of what we're gonna get with the campaign, oh my gosh, just the feel of this game, the gameplay, the flow, the controls, the sound. I'm gonna do my best to break it all down, but walking away from a hands-on closed beta opportunity, oh my gosh, dude, I'm feeling really good about Gears of War E-Day. So let's break it down. Ladies.
Closed beta does not sound good in this case because think about the people who got invited to this. One of them is Mr. Matty, someone who said that The Outer Worlds 2 is great, someone who said that Avowed is great, and someone who probably likes Fallout 3 unironically. So, the bar is not the greatest here.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with the world of Xbox, you're in the right place. Get subscribed. Now it's Gears of War. There's a lot of places we can start. I'd like to begin with the sound.
Where are you going? I thought you wanted some of this.
My God, the sound, the heft.
It didn't sound bad, but it did sound like someone tried maybe a little bit too much, honestly.
Of the movement, from the booming footsteps to a body banging up against cover, the power of the weapons from the Gnashers to the Lancers, the roar of a chainsaw, the voice work as you'd expect from a Gears of War game is extremely intense. The locusts are terrifying, and even the metallic clanging sound that occurs upon both respawn and death. This game is just harsh to the ears in the best possible way, and it combines with such an eloquent feel on the controller. The roadie running, aka sprinting, no longer pulls in the camera, but it does move in an interesting way when, say, you're sliding around. But there are new additions to movement that just naturally expand what Gears is already doing. You have things like sliding, as I mentioned before, jumping, lying down in cover, and all of these add to Gears of War without destabilizing what it once was. Aiming and pressing the B button allows you to switch shoulders. And speaking of buttons, it's great that sprinting is now mapped to the left analog stick, so you're not taking your thumb off the right analog stick where you need to aim and react and shoot enemies as they appear in front of you.
Wait, is this just an Xbox exclusive, or were you not allowed to play a shooter on a keyboard like God intended? What are we doing? Why are you playing your fucking shooter on a controller? Are you autistic? Stop! You're embarrassing yourself. I'm getting secondhand embarrassment by being in one universe as you. Holy, just take your own mouse with you. Do not play on controllers like some kind of mouth breather.
Just this combination of movement and sound, it is a thing of beauty, man. It is pure old school.
I have seen some clips that the covered Django lingo or whatever it's called. You know, when you just constantly do this between cover is still a thing.
Gears of War in all of the best ways. I am not someone who's been a hater of Gears 4 or even 5, But I know those games, especially when it comes to the
Should
story
have
at the end
been.
of 5, yeah, they got their issues. But this feels like we're getting back to the essence while naturally expanding what's there. Now, part of my experience here was both versus...
You know what's going to hugely determine the outcome of this game? It's how expensive it is. If Gears of War E-Day is $70 at this point, after Gears 5, and, you know, the Xbox situation in general, I do think that's gonna be a massive blow to their sales. It's hard to estimate even how many sales they're gonna have at this point. I have never actually checked Gears of War in general, how they're doing on Steam, but just the price at this current situation that we are in at Xbox and whatnot, it's gonna be a massive factor. If this thing is more than $50, and 50 is honestly kind of already cutting it, I think it's going to be a massive, massive turnoff for a lot of people, because all of the old franchises we currently have, people don't expect the best of them. Especially after how people received the trailer for Gears of War E-Day, which was not good. Again, the forced inclusivity, the DEI, it's very, very, very pushed in front of your face. So everyone's kind of afraid what the campaign is going to look like. And rightfully so, because the campaign could potentially be absolutely horrible.
mode and horde mode. And I'd actually like to continue this more unorthodox approach and talk versus mode with you. And I say it that way because I suck at Gears Versus. I am terrible at Gears PvP. I'm a straight up story co-op guy. I'll play Horde with the boys. But dude, during the great old 360 days when everyone was playing multiplayer Gears and multiplayer Halo, I was on Team Halo. I was
Controller.
playing a lot, and I mean a lot of Halo. Gears, I wasn't the best at it. I start with all of this because it's kind of impressive that I had such a blast with this versus mode. Sticking with things like movement, all of this is aided by excellent map design. I feel like the enemy of Gears of War multiplayer is a long-range encounter because the game always felt like it was built around the idea of maneuvering your environment as quickly as effectively as possible to get to that close quarters combat. But there were a lot of Gears of War maps, specifically I remember a few in 4, where it's just wide open areas. But I'm pleased to say that the maps I experienced really accomplished the feeling I was talking about, where you could see your opponent from the distance, but given the time to kill in Gears of War isn't something as instantaneous as, say, a Call of Duty, or heck, even something kind of in between like a Halo, Gears takes a lot of consistent shots or some real up-close nastiness like with the Nasher to really get the job done. Maps like the Kelowna Public Market, it's a nighttime market where open stretches of that market itself are broken up naturally by counters, pillars, produce display units, wine racks, and the like. It keeps the space organic to what it's trying to be while not overly transforming it to fit Gears of War. Simply put, it's an elegant effort where you don't really see the design quite as much as something like a Gears 5, where you'd ride out to these outposts in the campaign that felt specifically tailored to a Gears of War mission rather than something naturally part of that world. Again, it really harkens back also to Gears 1 and how its environments, when we were first really figuring out third-person cover shooting, how they naturally just had these blocks all around the environment that worked really well for the world building while also providing you cover that you were going to use a lot to get closer and closer to your enemies. So what I loved about this map so much was the mixture of great visibility while also maneuverability. And the same could be said about the other map I experienced in Outpost. It follows a similar design philosophy, except you're crawling through debris here. Holes are blown out of walls that now create flanking routes that once didn't exist, while the scraps of where other buildings once stood provide decent cover. It all makes great use of the movement options without feeling too gimmicky. It's not like this is your slide moment, slide here and slide here only, or this is your time to jump, this is the jump part of the map. It's all just natural, right? Like, it's like the organic foods of Gears of War. I don't know how else to describe it, dude. And it goes without saying, and I think, again, this should mean a lot coming from me. You know me, I'm not like really the big visual guy. I'm like, it looks good. But like, the visuals for both the maps and the characters here is absolutely stunning. And it channels that desaturation of a bygone era of Gears that feels so missed nowadays, where a lot of games have kind of traded all that in for vibrancy. And there's a lot of games that work with that, but Gears of War always really excelled with where I thought Gears of War 1 was. Gears of War 1 with that desaturated kind of gothic horror look. We're back to that in all the different ways, man. So just the feel of the game, the flow of the game, the sound.
Actually, this is kind of a good point because to a degree, it is a miracle that they didn't go for a fucking Disney-colored palette aesthetic. A lot of games do that nowadays.
Sound of the game. All of this will bring back memories for sure, but the ways it expands, intelligently so, makes it feel like it's a new beginning, and I think that's the ultimate goal of Gears of War E-Day.
Do you think Gears of War either is gonna succeed? I think it's gonna be somewhere in the middle. Again, there's the good, the bad. We don't know enough yet. The fact that a couple of people got to play it early, but it's the very curated opinions, is kind of a red flag because it is how it is.
So again, I am awful at Gears multiplayer, and I had a great time here. So with that in mind, are there any issues? Well, melee finishers are a bit unsatisfying when I down an enemy. Currently, a lot of my finishers were just a little boot to the chest, and it's definitely a rock and a hard place moment here because you're trying to take the time to do something epic to an enemy. At the same time, if your finisher takes too long and it's too showboaty, you leave yourself completely exposed to other enemies on the map who are gonna pull up and kill you. I just think, instead of like a kick to the chest to finish him off, maybe a stomp of the head, twist of the boot, and little blood and guts. The things that feel very Gears of War, but can be done very quickly. There's also some things that I want to talk about when it comes to what put me away from Gears of War, one of which did appear, the other which did not. So in Gears of
Because of the perspective, this table looks like it's actually part of the ground, so he, for some reason, has a giant fucking phone in it. Am I the only one?
War, feels like everyone's favorite weapon is the Gnasher, right? Just hold down and cover, boom, is one shot, then the elbow comes in, you're dead. We call it the two-piece, right? It is a Gnasher fest in one of the modes I played. So there was Team Deathmatch and there was Conquest. In Conquest, it's basically King of the Hill, so it's always bringing you to these centralized points, and you have to hunker down on those centralized points. And when everyone's in this small area, yeah, it's shotguns galore. And I know a lot of people got put off by that, and I would say, at least for this mode, that is where the Gnashers are most active. However, Team Deathmatch is where I really enjoyed myself the most because there is no central point, so it's just encounter by encounter, and I noticed a lot more weapon diversity at that point. The other thing worth talking about is with the movement system, what I don't know will happen in the future, and I want to be a little bit conscious of that moving forward. So one of the big things that put me away from Gears permanently was the wall bouncing meta. I'm good, bro. I've seen the videos online. I'm good. I'm not a freak like that. I can't get down with it. Here's what the Coalition just said this June to IGN.
You're just bad. There's no such thing as people who just want to be casual and have fun. That doesn't exist. Everyone wants to be a sweat. Everyone tries their best to win. And it's just people who can't that complain. Oh, I'm not sweat. No one's that sweaty. Okay? It's just either you're good or you aren't. Stop doing this. This is like an Xbox thing. Well, every game has it, but Xbox, I feel, is a little bit very finely represented when it comes to this kinds of opinions. Oh, you're a sweaty player. No, you just suck. Stop.
We have forms of wall canceling in there, but you won't be able to do wall bouncing the way you've done it in the past. There are a lot of other things you can do. There are ways to play with it. It's not entirely gone, but we think we found a balance in the terms of how that really feels. But back to my catchphrase, it is a new game. If you come back expecting to play it exactly like previous Gears games, it won't be that way. It will probably be an adjustment, but it'll also be built around the same mechanics. And I do feel like that is a very fair, accurate description of what's happening here. To be clear, when I was playing this multiplayer mode, and I was playing against people who were way better than me, look, man, I did not see any sort of wall bouncing, but I did see this form of wall canceling he was talking about. I used it myself, and sloppily so. I would, for example, drag myself to cover real quickly to accelerate my exit from someone who was shooting at me, and then try to roll the rest of the way. But I canceled mid-cover grab because I knew that was going to move me a little bit quicker compared to other movement options. So there is some tech here, and I think that type of tech is perfectly fine, not just because I'm able to use it, but I didn't feel it was so unfair or ridiculous that it didn't look like an actual video game at a certain point where everyone was just like floating between cover as they got around the map. That said, the deeper complexities of these new movement options I talked about, the sliding, the jumping, the new cover system, lying down, all of that combined with pro players and people much better than me, it remains to be seen how much this can all be exploited. But as I was playing with people who are way better than me and watching them move around and how I was getting around naturally, I feel like what's said here to IGN is very accurate. And if this remains true, I can live with the Nasher Fest.
This looks more or less like Arc Raiders movement, to be completely honest, at this point. And that is good. Arc Raiders is a good game with a really good ceiling for high-end PvP skill.
If it doesn't mean everyone's going to be dashing around 24/7. So this stands to be a Gears of War PvP that pulls me in for the first time since like Gears 2. Which is crazy to think about. So yeah, just a real tip of the cap there. It made me immediately way more excited for Gears E-Day. But let's also talk about the other mode I experienced, and that was the Horde mode. So Horde now has multiple modes, I should say. There's the Blitz, which is shorter length missions. There's the Siege, which is the standard length mission.
People are talking about the Horde mode. The Horde mode actually seems pretty interesting. You got, I don't know if that's separate mode or is it the same Horde mode that they implemented, but you have 3 teams of 3 to 4 players each, and they all have their own objectives, but they're on the same map. And that is honestly very cool.
For Horde, and then there is straight up Horde mode like you know it, which is just trying to survive against endless amounts of locusts. I spent most of my time doing Blitz and Siege because I wanted to see this new mission driven open style of Horde that had evolved from the original, which I have played a lot of. Starting off with the lobby menu, you can pick one of 4 classes, each with their own loadout and tactical gear.
Oh Jesus, yeah, here we have them.
Lobby menu, you can
here we have Megafoid once again.
Pick one of 4 classes.
It's the medic. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Everyone knows that this is going to be front and center everywhere. And this is what people are really worried about. The fact that the fucking campaign is just going to be ruined by this. Because clearly this serves no real gameplay purpose to create a as ugly, disgusting, and unappealing character like this without, necessarily political pandering. So this is going to be a massive problem for a lot of people, and I wonder if this is going to ruin the game. Again, Halo Campaign Evolved got completely shreked by just the Megafoid. Just her existence alone in a couple of moments went so viral and people memed on it so hard. I wonder if this is going to be another situation like that, because we saw it in the trailer. There were literally parts of the trailer specifically dedicated to showing her off. Specifically to show her off. So it's not good. It's pretty frightening.
Each with their own loadout and tactical gear. For example, the Assault class has the Lancer, but also their tactical gear is like a drone that can disrupt enemy attacks. The Marksman is the one I spent the most time with. You get things like the long shot, and your backup weapon is a hammerhead, but also I have some tactical gear that will scan the environment for us. Maybe right before a round of the Horde is coming in, I'll drop my tactical gear, we'll know where everyone is, and it just gives us a little bit more information to operate off of, that sort of stuff. But there's also the Breacher and the Medic. You can choose your favorite character from the Cog Army or the Locust to play as. With this class, there are multiple skins for some of these characters, and I imagine after launch there will be even more added to the game. And I'll just say this, the Horde Siege is sick, man. I really liked it. Having multiple squads on the same map, taking off their own missions and supporting each other from time to time, such as, for example, there was like a massive boss fight happening in this plaza area, and there were like 2 teams, I was one of them, just opening fire on this thing. It was absolutely sick. But then afterwards, we'd scatter and go about on our own missions. And then when you kind of naturally see each other again, it feels like the war is actually being fought. Something that Gears has definitely captured before, but this is a new way of capturing it, and I really liked it. As you get kills in this Horde mode, you're going to gain energy, which you can spend at supply stations to grab things like additional ammo or optional weapons like turrets that you can deploy on the ground to help you out where, you want to provide some covering fire in a place you're not going to be looking. That's a great option for you. The Horde Siege maps, as you'd imagine, since they're holding multiple teams, are considerably larger and have you sometimes fighting for massive stretches of land. You'll have multiple primary objectives like holding out from a horde within a building or taking over previously previously lost territory, but as you romp around, there are also optional objectives that you can take on, which will provide you with things like additional weapon parts. So after this, it's a simple extraction and you go. But as for the weapon parts, what happens? Well, there's a whole leveling
Dude, the absolute zero of the shooting consoles.
system attached to all of these classes. By leveling up, you'll unlock armor mods and mods for your tactical gear, which change how they work. I used the example earlier of scanning the environment as a marksman. Well, now if I apply this new tactical mod I unlocked, the duration...
I wonder if this is gonna have enough depth for people to enjoy, or is this gonna be just like some kind of throwaway who fucking cares type of situation, honestly, with the tactical gear and whatnot.
of the scan will be longer. Armor mods will change how, of course, you function defensively, but there's also the weapon parts that you can spend on everything from new weapon mod slots. So if I'm really going in on, say, the marksman class and I want to be an incredible marksman, I might save up 25 weapon parts, which is not super easy to get according to my experience. And with those 25 parts, I'll unlock a second slot for that marksman class. Otherwise, I could spend, say, 5 weapon parts on an upgrade for my...
Oh, is this gonna be how they make the money with microtransactions? Buy weapon parts? Because there's gonna be microtransactions, there's gonna be skins, a billion ugly looking foids, as everyone can obviously sadly imagine at this point, and there's gonna be weapons parts, I guess?
Hammerhead, and my upgrade for my hammerhead now makes it where instead of it being a 3 burst, it's a 2 burst, but it has better accuracy and a decreased rate of fire. And honestly, I was very impressed by how different the hammerhead felt with just this one mod attached. And while I didn't experience the full
That sounds honestly almost terrible.
after the mods for these weapons, it made me really excited for both the campaign and the horde mode, as well as multiplayer, to see how you could find like a new groove with a weapon that you already knew how it played. Again, what they've been saying about how a lot of it's going to be familiar gears, but expanding from those core tentpoles, this feels like a team that really understands what OG Gears was and how they could breathe new life into that through technology, how they could breathe new life into that through customization without losing the core pillar. I hate to turn it into like making fun of Halo, but it's the polar opposite of what I was talking about with Campaign Evolved, dude. Through leveling up, you'll also eventually unlock new weapons too. So there's this whole progression.
The execute, though, is something else. You do have to appreciate how good the executes were in Doom Eternal to begin with, because look at this again. Look,
Oh, dude. Through
I haven't said anything, but look,
leveling up, you'll
look.
also eventually unlock
Bro, that is just honestly audible. It's like a ballerina goof, like, okay? It's your cousin, you know, just kicking you slightly because you said something inappropriate in family gathering that everyone knew and wanted to hear. But still, this is just... That execution is just not it, okay? You could have done better. It's not hard to make good execution. They need to fix this. This is fucking abysmal, okay? I'm gonna say it. Like, come on. You can do so much better so faster. The original Doom Eternal executions were probably faster than this. And way better, obviously.
new weapons
Ugh.
too. So there's this whole
What the hell?
progression system here that I really do appreciate. Now with that, Horde mode. Matt, he sounds like he had a good time.
Oh, he is going to compare them to Space Marine because I feel that that's the obvious comparison. Like, why would you honestly play Gears of War at this point if you have Space Marine too?
Any issues with this? With the mode itself, not really. I actually thought it was really good, but I know it's a different game. It's also incredibly hard for me to ignore Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I really liked not only how there's 6 classes.
Yeah, because let's be real. I was thinking about this. I guess now I'm gonna be forced to talk about this because looking at this gameplay, is Gears of War just a ripoff of Space Marine 2 to a degree? I mean, we're all kind of thinking it, right? I was not gonna mention, but here comes Mr. Matty opening his mouth and actually saying the thing that I assume actually not only I was thinking, because Space Marine has equally the amount of blood and gore, enemy variety, multiplayer. Now, granted, the PvP multiplayer is probably less loved, but that's a different story. They have chunky big dudes firing bigger guns. And the PvE mode is really liked, pretty hard if you want it to be. It's very fun. The game is still actually doing numbers. There's expansions for this land. I think an expansion dropped and we didn't even cover it. And it looks good. And the weapons. I said this also in the trailer for Gears of War, but it's just like, oh man, why the fuck do you have, this is your aim bubble, it's this big, right? And the bullets just spread out everywhere. Why? Why? What the fuck are we doing here? It's a miracle a sniper rifle hits where you're aiming at this point. But yeah, these guns, they just, it for some reason seems and feels like they're just hitting everything everywhere, not going where you're aiming. But in Space Marine, the bullets go where you aim, and that is a massive thing. Again, it just really looks off in a lot of situations about the bullets just not even going anywhere near you where you're aiming, even if you're standing still and whatnot. Man, it does feel like that is kind of a big weakness to the game at this point, and that Space Marine just does it better.
Only how there's 6 classes in that game, but how expansive they immediately felt in the Space Marine 2 operations. Equally, I enjoyed how melee-centric the game was, where you could wipe out massive hordes of enemies in a hack-and-slash manner. I know this would be very different.
Again, there's a very obvious reason why Space Marine got, what was it, 220 concurrent players on Steam
for Gears, but this also felt like something that would be a natural expansion. Like, hey, we have more powerful technology. Let's throw more locusts at them. Let's have them cleave through a couple of hordes.
I'm sorry, is this fucking again some kind of Xbox or PlayStation gameplay because it's stuttering
through melee? I think that would have been a really cool addition to the game, and it feels like what Space Marine 2 did made a lot of sense, and honestly maybe beat Gears of War to the punch on that. But what I loved more in the operations for Space Marine 2 was how driven by the missions they really were, how unique they felt, and I feel like Gears functions more as what I described earlier, an open map with some stuff you can choose to tick off for additional weapon parts.
This does look smoother,
a little bit more simplistic. And so with that game in mind, it is tough to get the thought out of my head that Gears E-Day is benefiting a little bit more from things like nostalgia, a couple of neat evolutions, and solid fundamentals when it comes to its Horde mode specifically.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be a big overlap of people who liked Space Marine 2 and now are playing Gears of War? I think that probably is, honestly. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this goes. Because, again, Gears has the squad, whatever mode it's called. And that seems really, really, really cool. It is something that, Warhammer does not have in Space Marine 2. So I wonder how good it's going to be. I wonder can Gears of War just get the Space Marine people to play it? How that's gonna work? I think they're gonna be disappointed in the shooting, though. The shooting itself seems fine, but again, the fact that every weapon just fucking shoots backwards for some reason, I don't know. It ticks me off, boys. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays 10 out of 10. Bye.